Good evening, everybody. This is Mellissa Thomas with Florida National News coming to you with the nightly news rundown for Friday, April 24th. There's a lot going on around this time. I know the governor is doing his press conference. Orange County government is doing their press conference as well. So if you're here, thank you so much for tuning in and checking us out. As usual, we like to open with an audience question. And this time, there are talks of Captain Crozier of the USS Theodore Roosevelt, formerly of the USS Theodore Roosevelt, being reinstated. So right now, the question that we want to ask you guys is, do you feel that he should be? So here's a little details if you haven't heard yet. So Captain Crozier, of course, was removed from his duties earlier as a result of him reaching out to the higher ups in the Navy for the sake of saving his crew, particularly during the COVID-19 pandemic. Several had tested positive on the ship, and he wanted the ship to be able to go ashore for folks to get the safety and testing and measures that they needed. And unfortunately, he was removed. On Tuesday, the top naval officer, Admiral Mike Gilday, spoke with the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. And this morning, he spoke with Defense Secretary Mark Esper. The Associated Press is reporting that Mr. Esper has an open mind and he's ready to go along with whatever the naval leadership recommends. But we wanted to open it up to you guys. Do you believe that Captain Crozier should be reinstated on the USS Theodore Roosevelt? So many lauded him as a hero, even as he was being escorted off the ship. With his crew, 840 tested positive, 4 ended up hospitalized, and 1 sailor who was from Arkansas unfortunately passed away. Well, stay tuned right here at FloridaNationalNews.com as we continue to bring you updates in that area. Now, speaking of COVID-19, of course, we'd like to bring you guys the most updated numbers from the World Health Organization and the Florida Department of Health. So for today, we're looking at 2.6 million confirmed cases worldwide, with nearly 182,000 deaths. In the US, we're looking at 830,000 confirmed cases with 42,000 plus deaths. And according to the Florida Department of Health, here we're looking at 30,000 plus confirmed cases. And we just broke the 1,000 mark in deaths. We just surpassed the 1,000 mark in confirmed deaths here in the state of Florida. So as always, observe social distancing measures, make sure you're washing your hands, and make sure any chance you have to go outside that you're wearing all the protective equipment that you can, even if it is something homemade, a homemade scarf. Now in Ecuador, in more COVID-19 news, perhaps not something that we're hearing often about, Ecuador is actually the COVID-19 epicenter for Latin America. Right now, their country is looking at 17, they have a 17 million population, but of that population, 11,000 are confirmed cases. And as of right now, their number of deaths is actually 6,700. That's the total number of deaths going on in the nation of Ecuador. So right now, they're definitely ground zero for COVID-19 over there. Their hospitals are over capacity, and as you can see in this photo, the funeral parlors and places like that have had to stop holding funerals. So bodies are unfortunately being held at home or being put out in the streets. So that is an unfortunate picture of what's happening in Ecuador. Hospitals are over capacity. Folks are having to be turned away who have symptoms or want to be tested. They are the second most per capita of COVID-19 cases, second only to Panama in the Latin America nations. Now, jumping over to a little bit of Florida news, as you likely saw, heard, felt today, based on whether or not you had to leave the house. But Florida got hit with the severe weather today, possibly as a result of what we saw going on throughout the Midwest and the South over the course of this week. The Weather Channel showed a pretty compelling model here. There was a lot of storms going on, a lot of severe weather, fast winds, overcast weather. Now, the Duke Energy is reporting that thousands of power outages have happened across the Central Florida region as a result of this inclement weather. If you were one of the ones that got hit, certainly be patient. This weather shall pass. The entire region had been put on a tornado watch until 11 a.m. today. Thankfully, we are out of that, but that is what's going on here so far. Always a ripple effect when it comes to systems like that. And a bit of business news updates. Just as you heard us talking perhaps yesterday and the day before about the state of Florida reopening and what Governor Ron DeSantis wants to do in that regard, our neighbors to the north, Georgia, they're looking to reopen as well, and they've already started to. So Governor Brian Kemp has been easing the stay-at-home orders for his state. And bowling, there's one bowling alley as an example in Rome, Georgia, that's already open, and they've limited their lanes to only 6 people to observe social distancing measures. Like here in Florida, many of the businesses that would open in Georgia would observe the social distancing measures. However, an extra word of caution, given the way bowling takes place, if you're that type of person that enjoys bowling, if you're willing to do it with gloves, feel free. However, outside of that, perhaps find a different pastime. However, on Monday, they announced that movie theaters and restaurants will reopen in Georgia to dine in. So another step towards normalcy for the state of Georgia. And stay tuned right here, FloridaNationalNews.com, as we continue to share what Governor Ron DeSantis' steps will be to reopen the state of Florida. Now, jumping over to entertainment updates, Kanye West is joining the litany of celebrities that are helping during the COVID-19 pandemic. And like Charlize Theron that we mentioned earlier this week, like Beyonce, as we mentioned yesterday, he's more so putting his funding, his time, his efforts towards helping organizations that help people in need. So he's teaming up with Chick-fil-A to provide funding for the Los Angeles Dream Center, who serves underserved and at-risk youth in that area. They're working to provide food, supplies, and clothing for at-risk youth because they understand that those who are at risk in the Los Angeles area are just as susceptible to COVID-19 as seniors are. So congratulations to Kanye West for stepping up and doing philanthropic efforts with his funding. Now, a bit of a quick sports update. So in terms of the Olympics, we know this year would have been an Olympic year had it not been for COVID-19. The Olympics were postponed to 2021, and currently Japan was in talks with the International Olympic Committee as to who would pay for the delay. Now, in their talks, Japan has already said yes, that it will cover the cost that it's responsible for, given the host agreement being that they were the host nation. However, Japan said that, the International Olympic Committee will be responsible for its portion of any expenses regarding the cost of the delay. The cost for the postponement is reported to be between $3 and $6 billion. So stay tuned right here as we continue to keep you posted on the Olympics, the now 2021 Olympics. That will take some getting used to. And another quick sports update for you. Of course, we are in the NFL draft. Today was rounds 2 and 3, and you heard our one and only Casey Hudson doing her updates on round 1, or her predictions for round 1 last night. And the NFL is reporting today that their round 1 viewership actually broke records. It broke their all-time records with an average viewership of 15.6 million plus people tuning in to round 1 of the NFL draft, which is a 37% spike from last year, which was a viewership of only 11 million. And the NFL Draftathon, which is the fundraising side of it that they've been hosting and will host throughout the course of the draft, got 7 million views across their various platforms, broadcast, social media, and digital. So congrats to the NFL for that. And speaking of the NFL draft, be sure to stay tuned here at Florida National News as our Casey Hudson will return for special NFL draft coverage today. Today, she will be on at 6 p.m. So times are slightly different to make sure to coincide with her taking her fill of the NFL draft and being able to bring you guys the updates that you're looking for. So we wanted to keep it brief because we know the NFL draft is coming up. You guys are also following the politics of things. So we definitely wanted to thank you for your time. And as I mentioned before, leave a comment in the audience question below. Should Captain Crozier return to the USS Roosevelt? And we'll keep you posted on what the final decision is on that. So far, the higher ups wanted to kind of keep that discussion on the hush for now until something was definitive. But we look forward to your answers and your feedback below. So that does it for us here tonight at the Nightly News Rundown. Thank you so much for your time. As always, we appreciate you. Take care.